Veterans doubted the rookie SEAL. Until her first shot changed everything. Nobody in SEAL Team 8 said anything when she walked in. That was the problem. There is a thing that happens in military units when someone new shows up. People talk. They size the person up. They make small jokes, maybe shake a hand, ask where you are from. It is not always warm, but it is something. It is a sign that you exist in that room. When Lieutenant Chen arrived at the forward operating base that gray Tuesday morning, stepping off the transport with her rifle bag over one shoulder and a folder of orders in her hand, the room went quiet. Not the respectful kind of quiet. The other kind. The kind that says, "We already made up our minds about you." She was 27 years old. She had trained for years to be here. She had broken 3 Navy marksmanship records, earned a degree in physics, and passed the same integration trials that had washed out men twice her size. On paper, her file was extraordinary. In that room, none of that mattered. What the veterans of Team 8 saw was a small, quiet woman standing in a doorway, and what they felt was doubt. Chief Petty Officer Darnell, everyone just called him Rock, was the team leader. He had been doing this for 17 years. He had served in more countries than most people could find on a map. When he looked at Chen, he did not look away fast or make a rude face. He just looked at her, the way you look at weather you are not sure about. Then he turned back to his coffee. That first day, she was shown to her bunk, given a quick base rundown, and handed a schedule. She was not invited to the evening briefing. When she asked about it, she was told it was for the core team. She nodded and walked back to her bunk. She did not complain. She did not go to anyone and explain herself or list her qualifications. She just unpacked her gear, cleaned her rifle, and went to sleep. By the third day, people had started talking, just not to her. Harney, who had been with the team for 6 years and wore his skepticism like a second jacket, made no secret of how he felt. He did not say anything cruel directly to her face. That is not how it works in places like this. Instead, he said things nearby, things like, "I just think there is a process for a reason," or, "Combat is different from a shooting range. That is all I am saying." Everyone around him nodded along. Even Vega, the youngest on the team, nodded, though he kept sneaking glances at Chen when he thought no one was watching. On the afternoon of day 3, Harney organized one of his informal shoots. The team did this sometimes, out of boredom mostly, but also to settle the invisible arguments that always float around in units like this. He set a steel plate target out at 900 meters, in a crosswind. Then he invited Chen, with a smile that was technically polite. She stepped up, adjusted for the wind without using a calculator, and fired once. The steel rang out across the valley. Harney said it was lucky. A few others laughed. Rock said nothing. But later that night, Vega saw Rock standing alone near the range, staring out in the direction of the target. He was not doing anything, just thinking. Vega did not interrupt him. On day 4, everything changed, not because of Chen, but because of a mission. The extraction window was narrow, 36 hours, maybe less. The problem was the facility itself. The building sat deep in a valley, surrounded by open ground on all sides. Any ground approach would be spotted long before the team got close. The only viable option was a long-range sniper overwatch from a ridgeline across the valley. If someone could neutralize the sentry covering the main exit at the right moment, the extraction team could move in clean and fast. Simple in theory, but when Rock looked at the numbers, his jaw tightened. The distance from the ridgeline to the target window was 1,847 meters. That is not a normal shot. That is not even a shot that most trained snipers would take in a real-world setting. The world record for a confirmed combat sniper shot at the time was just over 3,000 meters, but those are record books moments, not Tuesday night operations in the cold. At that range, everything matters. The temperature, the altitude, the humidity, the wind shifting every 30 seconds on a mountain face, the tiny wobble in your breathing, the heartbeat you can feel in your trigger finger. Rock stared at the map for a long time. He did not say who would take the shot. Not yet. That night, before the mission, Rock found Chen alone in the equipment bay. He did not sit down. He stood across from her, arms crossed, and he asked her straight. Real conditions, not range day. She looked up from the rifle she was checking. 2,100 meters, she said. Competitive setting, mountain altitude, wind correction manually applied. He watched her face for a long moment. She did not add anything to that. Did not say, "So this shot is easy for me," or, "I can do this, please trust me." She just answered the question and went back to her rifle. Rock left without saying anything else. Harney, who had overheard from the hallway, walked away quietly too. He did not make a joke. They moved out at 3 in the morning. The mountain was dark and cold in the way that mountains in that part of the world always are, a cold that gets inside your jacket and stays there. The team moved in silence, single file, for nearly 2 hours to reach the ridgeline position. Nobody talked. There was nothing to say. Chen was positioned 30 meters to the right of Rock's main overwatch spot. Officially, she was secondary coverage. Rock had not changed the plan on paper, but he had thought about it. Everyone knew he had thought about it. Through her scope, Chen started working. She noted the window positions, the timing of the guard rotations, the way the wind was moving through the valley, not with instruments, but by watching the dust, the way a distant tree moved, the behavior of the cold air as it came down the slope. She had been doing this since she was a teenager. Her father had taught her that the wind always tells you what it is doing. You just have to be patient enough to listen. For 4 hours, nothing happened. The team waited. That is most of what military operations actually are. Waiting, being cold, staying focused, even when your body wants to shut down. Then, just before the extraction team was set to move, something went wrong. A vehicle that had been parked on the south side of the facility moved. It repositioned slowly, without lights, to a spot that changed Rock's line of sight. A sentry who had been on a predictable patrol route stopped and took up a new position, closer to the exit the extraction team needed to use, and directly in the line of approach. Rock locked on through his scope. He could see the sentry clearly, but his angle was now blocked at the critical point. The vehicle was in the way. If he took the shot from where he was, it would not be clean. A missed or deflected shot would alert the whole facility, and the mission would be over before it started. He had 11 seconds before the extraction team began their move. After that, Waiting any longer would compromise the whole operation. He pressed the radio button and said 2 words. Chen. You. That was it. No pep talk. No explanation. Just her name and the transfer of responsibility. Chen had already done the math. She had been doing it quietly for the last 20 minutes, running the numbers in her head, the way some people hum a song without realizing it. Wind speed, shifting between 8 and 11 kilometers per hour, coming from the northwest with a slight downslope push. Temperature drop since they arrived, 4 degrees Celsius. Distance, 1,847 meters. Bullet drop at that range in these conditions. The angle of the target, the width of the window the sentry was standing near. She slowed her breathing down, not on purpose. Her body just did it automatically, the way it always had before a shot that mattered. She exhaled. She fired. The sound traveled back to the team a second and a half later. On the radio, nobody said anything for 4 full seconds. Then Rock's voice. Good shot. The extraction team moved. They reached the facility in under 3 minutes. The hostage was secured and out of the building in 6. No further contact. Clean extraction. No casualties. On the ridgeline, Harney looked over at Chen. She was already doing what she always did after a shot, logging her data in a small notebook. Wind reading, distance confirmed, time of shot, temperature at firing. She was not celebrating. She was not waiting for anyone to come congratulate her. She was working. Harney opened his mouth. Then he closed it. Then he went back to scanning his sector. The debrief the next morning was professional and focused, the way all debriefs are. They went through the mission step by step, the timeline, the positioning, the response to the vehicle change, the shot, the extraction. Rock ran it efficiently and without emotion. Then he did something unusual. He stopped the formal debrief and spoke off script. He looked around the room, not at Chen specifically, just at the room, and said that in 17 years of active operations, he had seen some clean shooting. He had worked with some excellent people, and he wanted to put on record that the shot taken from the northern ridgeline position the previous night was, in his assessment, one of the finest pieces of marksmanship he had seen under real operational conditions. Nobody clapped. This is not that kind of environment. But the room shifted. You could feel it. Harney stared at the floor. Vega nodded slowly, like something that had been sitting uneasy in his chest had finally settled. Chen, sitting at the end of the table, finished writing in her notebook and capped her pen. She looked up. She said, "Same time tomorrow?" A few people laughed. Genuine this time. Rock almost smiled. What happened after that was not a movie moment. Nobody gave a speech. Nobody apologized formally or made a dramatic gesture. That is not how it works in places like this. What changed was quieter than that. Rock started including Chen in the planning sessions he had previously closed to her. Not because someone told him to. Just because it made sense now, and it had probably always made sense, and he was the kind of man who could update his thinking when the evidence was clear enough. Harney stopped making his comments, not overnight, but gradually. The jokes about process and experience, and how things are done, quietly disappeared. Vega asked Chen, one evening while they were cleaning gear, how she had calculated the wind drop at that range without instruments. She explained it to him for about 20 minutes. The visual cues, the pressure reading from the environment, the habit of attention built over years. He listened the whole time without interrupting. She was not their hero. They did not put her on a pedestal. But she was their teammate now. Truly their teammate. In the way that actually matters in that world. They trusted her to do her job. She trusted them to do theirs. That, as it turned out, was everything. There is a thing that people often get wrong about moments like this. They think the point is that she proved them wrong. Like the whole story is about embarrassing the doubters, about standing over them and saying, "I told you so." But Chen never thought about it that way. She had not come to prove anyone wrong. She had come to do a job. The doubters were just weather, uncomfortable, temporary, and not really her problem. She had learned something a long time ago. From years of standing behind a scope and waiting for the wind to settle. You cannot rush what needs to happen. You prepare, you wait, you breathe, and when the moment comes, you are ready. The wind does not care about your feelings. The distance does not care about your history. Only your skill matters. Only your preparation matters. She had prepared her whole life for a moment like this. When it came, she was ready. And that is the whole story, really. A woman who knew exactly what she was capable of, who walked into a room full of doubt, and who did not waste a single breath trying to explain herself. Because she already knew that one day, the moment would do all the explaining that was ever needed. That night on the mountain, in the dark and the cold, with a wind shifting at 11 kilometers per hour and a target nearly 2 kilometers away, that moment came. She exhaled, she fired, and the doubt died with the echo of that shot. End of story.